What is up, everybody? It is me, DevilNeverCry, and in today's video we're going to be covering the master craftsman Machiavelli, a character in the DMC universe who we've heard little about up until recently. A lot of you liked the previous video I made about Gilgamesh, diving into that whole fiasco, and in response a lot of you wanted to see me cover Artemis next, which will be done in this video, don't worry. But to understand what exactly Artemis is, we sort of have to dive into this character of Machiavelli because he seems to be behind it all. So not only will we be covering Artemis, but we'll also be diving into a few of the other exploits of Machiavelli. So without further ado, let's just dive right in. So first and foremost, Artemis is a machination, a devil arm, that was created by Hell's own craftsman Machiavelli. This is in fact confirmed by Nico's enemy report in DMC 5, where she starts to talk about Machiavelli, stating that he's a legend, one of the Underworld's top gunsmiths in fact, and that Artemis started out as a gun that he had simply made. She describes Artemis as a priceless relic, one of the last remaining artifacts of Machiavelli's genius, and this gives us an inkling into who exactly Machiavelli is. So at this point, he's a legendary gunsmith in the underworld. We don't know if he's human or demon or a hybrid, but logic implies that he's a demon, considering that Artemis was said to have been made quite a while ago. That's why it's deemed a priceless relic. It also implies that Machiavelli's no longer making these demonic weapons, these devil arms, considering that it is a relic. One of the last reminders of his genius, kind of implying that he's either disappeared or he's simply dead. We don't know. Going back to the devil arm Artemis though, we end up finding it in the Temenegruk Tower midway through in mission 6, I believe, where you had to complete 3 different trials to get access to the weapon. And in the usual fashion, at the end of DMC 3, Dante throws Artemis into a cupboard to forget about it for the remainder of time. That is until the weapon resurfaces before the events of DMC 5 in the prequel novel, titled DMC 5 Before the Nightmare. Now at this point, if you haven't read the prequel novel, DMC 5 Before the Nightmare, I highly recommend you go and do so. You can find it online, you can find translations of it. There's lots of information that was omitted from the DMC 5 video game that is in the prequel novel, so I do suggest you go and check it out. So one of the details that was omitted from the DMC 5 video game but was present in the prequel novel is that Trish was carrying Artemis into the initial confrontation with Urizen. So in that scene we get at the beginning of DMC 5, or at the start of Dante's part of the campaign, where we see Trish, Dante and Lady all defeated, Artemis was supposed to be there. I don't know why this detail was omitted from the video game, considering it would have made more sense, seeing as we have Artemis as an actual boss fight, but I guess that's a decision they made. I'm assuming maybe that they didn't want to have to create an in-game updated model for the Artemis weapon, but regardless, Trish carried Artemis into the fight along with Sparda, and of course, once they were all subsequently defeated, the Artemis weapon was used to create the Artemis boss, with the in-game enemy file explicitly stating that the Artemis boss was created by fusing the devil arm with a human host, which of course, as we know, is Lady. The enemy file for Artemis also implies that the weapon is gone for good. The file states that Nico is upset at the fact that somebody smashed it the hell up, essentially meaning that we're never going to see this weapon again. The whole idea of Artemis, a man-made, or a demon-made, I guess you could say, devil arm, is rather interesting, considering that all the devil arms up until this point were from a demon itself, just a physical manifestation of its soul in weapon form that was either given through subjugation or acknowledgement of strength. Getting back to Machiavelli for a second though, the prequel novel also clarifies that the Angelo enemy's armor was in fact made by Machiavelli. He fashioned them for the Prince of Darkness's Angelo army when he was first attempting to come back pre-DMC 1 and get revenge on the Sons of Sparta. That means that Nello Angelo's armor, as well as the armor of the Scudo and Proto-Angelos in DMC 5, were all crafted by Machiavelli himself. So you have him to blame for the fact that they take forever to kill. And whilst that may wrap it up for Artemis and Machiavelli's sort of introduction in DMC 5, he has actually been mentioned before in other forms of DevilNeverCry media. For example, in DMC 4's Deadly Fortunes novels, there is a mention of a legendary demonic gunsmith. There is even a mention of Dante holding some of Machiavelli's creations, potentially implying that either Pandora or perhaps even Spiral might have been a creation of Machiavelli. Pandora would kind of make sense considering that is a legendary demonic gun, and the novels state that Dante obtained Pandora before the events of DMC 4, which of course is in direct conflict with what happened in-game, where he managed to obtain Pandora after beating Dagon. And some might raise an eyebrow at the mention of Spiral, a massive 50 caliber anti-material rifle, but you gotta remember that that weapon was found deep inside Tema Negru, and its stopping power is insane. So that might have been made by Machiavelli as well. And after doing a little bit more research, it seems that Machiavelli was actually mentioned quite heavily in the DevilNeverCry CD Drama Volume 1. At the moment I could only find general summarizations of the audio CD drama, but he was mentioned heavily in there. For example, at one point, Enzo gets his hands on one of Machiavelli's creation, the Titania demon gun, that threatened to overtake him and his entire body. After an entire ordeal that ends up with Lady being possessed by Titania, Machiavelli's creation, Dante ends up having to destroy it with Alistair, a long time no see devil arm that Dante decided to use to take care of the issue. One of the things though that I do want to touch upon that the audio drama CD makes mention of is the fact that whilst Dante's father Sparta was known for his prowess with a sword and the fact that he was unmatched, Machiavelli was known for his gunslinging skills, with the drama CD stating that he was the best gunslinger in the underworld, and as such, the guns that Machiavelli created, the devil arms, were known to be the best guns in the underworld, meaning that they were highly sought after, especially after his death, which by the way, the audio drama CD does confirm that Machiavelli is dead by this point. So whilst DMC 5 and its prequel novel were vague about what happened to Machiavelli, the audio drama CD here makes it clear that Machiavelli is dead and gone, and only adds to the rarity of his creations. He's not alive anymore to stick around and make these weapons, and he's relatively unmatched in his skill, save only for Nell Goldstein, I guess, the creators of Ebony and Ivory, considering that their output is on par with a weapon like Artemis. But then again, Nell is gone as well, so maybe Nico will be the one to fill in his shoes, but she's got a long way to go if the Devil Breakers are anything to go by. And that wraps up Machiavelli, and subsequently so, that wraps up Artemis. I hope that answers all of you guys' questions, and has given you a bit more insight into the DMC universe. It's a bit of a surprise, I guess you could say, considering that not many people think about story when they think DevilNeverCry, but I guess if you go looking you'll find some. Let me know down in the comments below if there's anything else story-wise that you would like me to cover, as I'll be happy to do so. As always, leave a like if you enjoyed today's video, and of course subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with all things DMC. It has been me, DevilNeverCry. I would like to thank all of you for watching, and as always, I'll see you next video.